Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise and really extract the most important insights from the sources you've shared. We want to give you a real shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're plunging into, well, a lot, actually, the fascinating, fast-moving currents of the tech world. We're talking surprising AI acquisitions really reshaping software engineering, the intricate global dance of tech policy, those huge energy demands behind it all, and even a fresh look at how our digital communities and, financial systems are rapidly evolving.
It's truly compelling how swift and deeply interconnected these developments are.
Right.
Yeah. We'll try and connect these seemingly disparate dots, helping you understand not just what is happening, but why it matters in the broader landscape. Technology, economics, even geopolitics. From the micro level of how software is now almost writing itself to the macro level of global power plays over chips and energy, we're really seeing a unified story. Technology isn't just changing what we do, but how nations interact and how our communities form.
Okay, so let's kick things off with that significant acquisition. It unfolded with incredible speed. Cognition AI's purchase of Windsurf. The sources describe this as a clean fit. You've got Windsurf bringing its leading IDE, the sophisticated tools developers use.
Yeah, the integrated development environment.
Right. And Cognition, of course, having Devin, known as the first AI software engineer agent, both also share that strong enterprise focus. So what's the real strategic genius behind pairing these two up?
Well, what's genuinely strategic here is the synergy. It's between accelerating human output and automating tasks. So Windsurf empowers developers to produce code faster when they're actively coding. It's like a highly efficient co-pilot.
Okay.
Devin, on the other hand, lets you delegate entire complex software engineering tasks. It acts more like an autonomous agent.
Oh, okay.
So you can imagine a scenario where Devin, the AI agent, handles the initial heavy lifting, maybe a first pass at a project, and then a human developer uses Windsurf to add the finishing touches, refine it.
Right. Makes sense.
Or, the IDE could plan out a series of development tasks, then seamlessly hand them off to the AI agent to execute. Both companies were intensely focused on making software engineering work effectively in, real-world enterprise environments. That was key.
Now, this wasn't just a straightforward acquisition, was it?
Yeah.
Windsurf had some prior dealings, including that earlier intended clean cut from Google. The sources highlighted that Cognition specifically sought those intact components, the product, the IP, and crucially, the teams. What was the atmosphere like at Windsurf post-Google leading up to this deal? Must have been tense.
Oh, by all accounts, the mood after the Google separation was quite challenging. Yeah, the interim CEO described it as probably the hardest day for 250 people at the company's lives. Intense.
Wow.
He reportedly worked around the clock. I think the sources said sleeping only 3 hours over 72. Just intensely focused on finding the best solution for the employees.
That's dedication.
Absolutely. And the Cognition deal offered immediate consideration for every single employee. They effectively formed one team right from day one. And this wasn't just about saving jobs. It was really about strategically realigning valuable human capital.
And before this Cognition deal surfaced, there were those persistent rumors around OpenAI and Windsurf, right?
Yeah.
How did that prior speculation that kind of fizzled out influence this surprisingly swift pivot to Cognition?
Yeah, that actually signals a really interesting dynamic in the market, I think. The OpenAI rumors had been circulating for, about 3 months? And when you see no progress and still drama after that much time, it's a pretty strong sign a potential deal isn't gaining traction. The sources mentioned the founders were essentially locked in a conference room for 6 weeks trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
So this acquisition, it's potentially a new model for the market itself. It shows how valuable parts of companies, the core product, the IP, and especially the talented teams can be salvaged.
Right, even after something else doesn't pan out.
Exactly. Salvaged and allowed to thrive even after a previous venture or, structural change fails. And a key detail here, one that apparently made many people very happy, is that all investor and founder shares were wiped off the cap table.
Oh, interesting. So zeroed out.
Zeroed out. Their prior ownership stakes gone, effectively making it an entirely employee-owned company post-acquisition under Cognition. That's a powerful precedent, for how talent can be retained and re-energized after a failed venture.
And it seems like these weren't just a theoretical fit. They already had natural partnerships brewing, right?
Right.
Cognition, rolling out Devin to teams at Goldman Sachs and Citibank, Windsurf working with JP Morgan. There's a clear industry alignment already happening.
Yeah, exactly. That real-world application was already there.
Okay, let's pivot a bit, turning our attention now to the broader geopolitical implications of tech.
Yeah.
We've seen recent news that NVIDIA and AMD are resuming some AI chip sales to China, specifically that heavily deprecated H20 chip. The older, less powerful version the U.S. deems less militarily sensitive. What's the strategic rationale behind this apparent policy reversal? It seems complex, given past restrictions.
Yeah, it is complex, and this is where the underlying policy arguments really come into focus. The sources lay out a clear why. So one argument comes directly from Jensen Huang of NVIDIA. He publicly stated that U.S. export controls were, in his view, a failure.
A failure. Strong words.
He argued that by ceding the Chinese market entirely to Huawei, who is developing their cloud matrix technology.
Right, that's the networking of less powerful chips.
Exactly, networking many chips together to achieve supercomputing capabilities. He argued the U.S. was inadvertently providing a huge subsidy for Huawei's R&D. I mean, while a single NVIDIA chip might be, say, 3 times more powerful than a single Huawei chip, brute forcing with enough networked Huawei chips can yield similar results.
Okay.
So handing that market to Huawei, the argument goes, would only help them scale globally.
So it really boils down to market share and competitiveness then.
Precisely. The core idea seems to be that it's a zero-sum game where global market share will ultimately go to either American or Chinese companies. The AI race, in this view, could be won or lost based on who holds that dominant maybe 80% market share in 5 years.
Okay, market share. What else?
Well, beyond that, this move was also reportedly part of broader U.S.-China trade negotiations, explicitly described as a bargaining chip.
A bargaining chip for what?
To gain access to rare earth exports from China, those critical materials for, well, everything from electronics to green energy.
Very crucial stuff.
And there's a third kind of grander vision mentioned, making the American technology stack akin to the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. The goal there is to promote a robust partner ecosystem globally, actively working to prevent what's called a digital Silk Road led by China.
That's their initiative to export digital infrastructure globally, right?
Exactly. Potentially creating a parallel China-centric internet ecosystem. This move is partly aimed at countering that.
But, okay, despite these economic and strategic arguments, don't selling these chips still raise significant national security concerns, even if they're, deprecated?
That's a fair question, and the sources address it directly. They explain that the chips in question are not easily hidden. They're described as mainframe computers, like 8 feet tall, weighing 3,600 pounds.
Wow. Okay, not exactly pocket-sized.
Not at all. Their sheer size makes them very easy to send inspectors into data centers to verify their location and usage. So the security concerns are considered easily handled from that physical inspection perspective. Financially, though, it's worth noting the impact on NVIDIA. They'd already reported a $4.5 billion write-down from the earlier curbs.
Ouch.
Yeah. And we're projecting maybe another $8 billion in lost sales. So this reversal has a significant financial upside for them.
And as AI expands, one of the critical bottlenecks, maybe less discussed but huge, is its enormous energy demand. We're seeing major figures like Mark Zuckerberg pledging billions for Meta's data centers. There's growing concern about a potential energy crisis just to fuel all this processing. What's the scale of this, and how are we looking to meet it?
You've hit on a really crucial point. AI is an incredibly energy-intensive industry. It consumes the most sophisticated, most expensive form of energy, electricity.
Right.
The U.S. strategy, as outlined, focuses on unleashing American energy, basically actively enabling private businesses to build energy infrastructure rather than relying solely on government projects.
Enabling the private sector.
Yeah. And Pennsylvania is highlighted as a key player here. It's already a massive energy producer, second only to Texas in exports, apparently. And it has the potential to massively grow production specifically to fuel AI if existing pipeline capacity issues can be addressed. That's the bottleneck there.
Are there any other significant policy levers being pulled to ramp up energy capacity or maybe secure the raw materials needed for all these new data centers?
Indeed. There's a new 50% copper tariff effective August 1st that's specifically intended to speed up copper mining in the United States.
Because copper is essential for data centers.
Absolutely. All the wiring, the infrastructure. The plan apparently is for no carve-outs for this tariff. It's part of that broader strategy to reindustrialize the United States and strengthen domestic supply chains. And then on a more geopolitical energy front, there's also the threat of 100% secondary tariffs on countries importing Russian energy.
Secondary tariffs, so penalizing countries doing business with Russia.
Exactly. Not just tariffs on Russia itself. The stated aim behind this is to drive up oil prices and pressure Russia to end the Ukraine war.
Okay, so we've talked about these massive global shifts, AI, chips, energy policy, huge stuff. But how do these seismic changes ripple down to impact our daily digital lives? Right in our own neighborhoods. Let's zoom in on a familiar app, Nextdoor. We're hearing about a significant app revamp being called Nextdoor 3.0, aiming to make it an entirely new app. What's the core focus here?
Yeah, the core of this revamp is really about intensifying Nextdoor's fundamental values, things like immediate safety alerts, curating relevant local news, fostering neighbor recommendations.
Okay, the basics but amplified.
Kind of. Their primary metric for success, how they define their efforts, is purely engagement. And the ambition is quite bold. They want to transition from their current 100 million plus verified neighbors to over 1 billion users.
1 billion, wow.
Yeah, striving to become a daily habit. Their CEO noted the goal is for you to check it the minute you wake up and before you go to bed, because if things are happening on the neighborhood, they should be on Nextdoor.
That's an enormous ambition.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider their move into local news. Right when other major social platforms are actually pulling back from that space, who does Nextdoor even see as their main competitor in this reimagined landscape? Are they maybe underestimating the challenge?
It's interesting. Surprisingly, they consider their greatest competitor is really ourselves.
Themselves?
Yeah. They hold this conviction that no one else has successfully built an entire geospatial platform based on where people live. They really lean into the idea that local news is crucial. They quote the famous venture capitalist Michael Moritz, who said, "Local news is as important to a city as air, water, and gas."
That's a strong statement.
It is. They believe it fosters civic discourse and stronger communities. So, to achieve this, as part of the new Nextdoor, they've launched this program inviting local publishers to their platform. They already have 3,500 participating.
3,500?
Yeah, collectively publishing an impressive 50,000 articles per week. So, while others retract, Nextdoor is doubling down, believing their unique local foundation gives them an edge.
And as they pursue this massive growth, are they looking at M&A, mergers or acquisitions to help them get there? Or are they sticking to organic growth?
Well, the current internal focus seems firmly on achieving its potential as a standalone independent entity, operating as if it will be around forever as such. So, while they'll always listen to conversations that come their way, the primary drive is internal organic growth, building out this Nextdoor 3.0 vision.
That's a powerful vision for community, relying on trust and clear communication. And speaking of clarity or the lack of it, until recently, let's pivot one last time, to the crypto market. There's been significant recent news about dismissed investigations involving platforms like Polymarket. What does this signify for the broader crypto landscape? Is this a big deal?
It's being described as a tectonic shift, a fundamental move back to what the industry calls fundamentals and regulation. It's about finally seeking the clarity that the industry has, been asking for years.
Right, that's been the big hurdle.
Exactly. This regulatory clarity is seen as the absolute main tailwind for institutional capital. That big money has largely been kept on the sidelines because of all the previous regulatory insecurity and uncertainty.
And where is this push for clarity coming from?
Crucially, the sources say this momentum is coming from Congress and has bipartisan support. That's a huge difference compared to past, more fragmented efforts. This isn't just one agency making a decision. It seems to be a broader legislative push.
And what about the upcoming stablecoin legislation? Is that also gaining momentum with this renewed push for clarity?
The prediction is that stablecoin regulation is heading towards signature. It seems pretty likely. This is seen as a clear area for regulation that has strong bipartisan agreement because, unlike some more decentralized parts of crypto, stablecoins operate as centralized intermediaries.
So they fit more easily into existing frameworks.
Essentially, yes. By their very nature, they arguably should be regulated. While there might be minor quibbles about specific language, there doesn't seem to be fundamental disagreement on the need for robust regulation there, to protect consumers and ensure financial stability.
Phew, okay. That was a truly immersive deep dive. We covered a lot of ground there into some fascinating, really fast-moving areas of tech and policy, from how AI is literally rewriting code and acquisition playbooks, to the geopolitical strategies behind global chip sales and the immense energy needed to power it all, plus the evolution of our digital neighborhoods and that path towards crypto clarity. It's abundantly clear these aren't isolated stories, are they? They're all threads in a much larger interconnected tapestry.
Absolutely. And it really raises an important question for all of us, I think. If innovation, global politics, and market dynamics are becoming so profoundly intertwined, what unexpected connections will we see emerge next? The ones that truly transform our world. And maybe more importantly, how will you stay ahead of the curve as these landscapes continue to shift and constantly redefine what's possible?
A great question to end on. Thanks for tuning in to the deep dive. We hope you feel a little more well-informed and maybe a lot more curious after this exploration. Until next time, keep digging.